All right, everybody, welcome back to the Sooner Surge. And today is our first ever smoke room session where we're going to be discussing the smoke we hear about different rumors. And yesterday we kind of hinted upon it in our podcast about Emmett Jones possibly coming to OU as the next wide receiver coach. Some things we've heard today may have changed that. We'll see. But Brody, just start us out with what you're hearing.
We talked a lot on the podcast about Emmett Jones and stuff we were hearing about him maybe being in for an interview. But now with Texas wide receiver coach Brennan Marion going to UNLV to be the OC, things maybe have changed. We're kind of thinking that maybe Emmett Jones will be going to Texas just based off some Twitter activity we've seen, and he's
the area.
Yeah, and he's in that area. So Texas fans have talked about how they want Emmett Jones and all that. And then now it kind of seems like maybe Brent Venables and staff are going to kind of wait on the guy that they want in Malcolm Kelly. We've seen them do that before with Jay Valai. So a lot of us we're kind of speculating maybe Emmett Jones, maybe Malcolm Kelly.
But first off, before we move on, LaDainian Washington.
Yeah.
It's over.
Right now, his Twitter activity leans he's going to Western Kentucky. And maybe it's not Western Kentucky, but I just would not expect him to be back on staff at Oklahoma next year.
Yeah, and I was fixing to say something about that. Like, what if Kelly decides he wants to stay and Emmett Jones goes to Texas and OU doesn't have a guy and Washington's already gone, OU's kind of stuck. Like, do you go back to Cale Gundy if you have to?
Okay.
I don't think they would do that.
They're not going to do that. First off, OU is never going to be stuck. People, what's the phrase in Field of Dreams? Okay, people will come, Jackson. People will come. This is Norman, Oklahoma here. Okay, so I'm not worried about that. They're going after the guy, Malcolm Kelly. What was the timetable, Brody? You guys that had the info and the kind of the stuff. What was the timeline with Jones arriving? Now we're saying possibly that they're interviewing Jones just to see. So are we saying Jones? Are you guys saying Jones was interviewed, but then they have word that Kelly may want to come here? What are you guys hearing on the timetable?
I don't know. I know a lot of people ruled out Kelly, and they think that Kelly was either passed on OU or that was an option. I don't know if that was ever the case. I just think he's in the national championship game, and you can't really do anything until that's over. So I personally think the Emmett Jones thing was, let's bring Emmett Jones on, interview him. The national championship is being played Monday. We know we have two options there. Is kind of what I'm thinking. Hunter,
I really thought that the Malcolm Kelly was done after a month ago. It was down to Samples or Kelly, and Samples went to Arizona when it was very much looking like Samples was going to be at OU. And then the Kelly stuff just kind of like it just disappeared. Like there was talk, and then all of a sudden it ended. And I mean, I think it's weird because this is his university. He's a beloved Sooner. Was a really good wide receiver for Oklahoma. He's been a really good wide receiver coach from his starting job at Abilene Christian to now be at TCU. And you look at what their wide receiver room's doing, very much so the part of the reason why TCU's playing for a national championship come Monday. So with Kelly, it seemed like he turned down OU. Granted, that could not be the case, and it was just he's one of those coaches that wants to not even have the talk about it until his season's over, which is very respectable. I like that in a coach on they want to be fully committed to where they are at that time. And that's the right thing to do. It's not right to the university that you're at necessarily if you're in talks with another university when you still have possibly 2 games left. And now Malcolm Kelly's playing for a national championship with TCU and Georgia. So, in my opinion, Malcolm Kelly is the guy. He is – I don't see a wide receiver coach that is on the rise like him that could be better than Kelly. Emmett Jones would be another really good option. But if I had to choose, I would go Malcolm Kelly.
Hey, so let me ask you this, guys. What are the implications of Brennan Marion going out to UNLV in this whole situation? What are the dominoes going to be with him leaving? Because that would be a shock. We know there's turmoil there in Texas. There has been at the end of this season with a lot of things maybe that have gone down. We don't know. We're not Texas insiders. But it might be interesting to reach out to our Texas insider that we do have in Jonathan just to see kind of what his thoughts are. But what are the implications of the Brendan Marion situation, guys? Maybe Jackson, what do you think on that?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a guy or two transfer out because Texas always has lots of talent in the wide receiver room. That's been one of their strongholds for the last 20 years, probably, I would say. And see, I don't know if a guy like Xavier Worthy would leave. We've already seen Ajayi Hall. He left again, which he's a guy that just has trouble off the field. And then, they're Whittingham, I think is his last name, already announced he's coming back. Now, that could change because I'm sure he likes their wide receiver coach. But I don't really know that much about Texas, so I can't say much.
Jeremy, you asked like the implications it could have. Well, the biggest implication is now Texas has to hire a wide receiver coach.
Right.
And they might be after the same guys that OU's after. So you might happen to be in a situation where they want the same people you want.
That's kind of what I've heard too, is this Emmett Jones, Malcolm Kelly thing. If you go to anything on Twitter or whatever, the message boards, Texas wants Emmett Jones or Malcolm Kelly.
And so does
OU wants Emmett Jones or Malcolm Kelly. I mean, this is a kind of going to be a fight to get the guys you want. Now, here's the major implications that I think is it's not this year, but in the future, the recruiting and Emmett Jones in the DFW area is a major player in recruiting. He's huge in the DFW area. So whether he goes to OU or Texas, it's going to make a major impact. Marion was already that guy in Texas. I mean, he was a highly touted recruiter who now is going to UNLV. We all know what Malcolm Kelly does. I tend to think, just from what I've seen on the field, Malcolm Kelly, as far as development of receivers, is above Emmett Jones. From what I've seen, I just think his talent that he would have Quentin Johnson leave the game, another guy would come in, and he would be really good. I think overall, Malcolm Kelly is the number one guy OU would want, and I think OU does want him number one. My whole thing is, and I said this, I think they're going to have to give him an co-OC job, which y'all help me remember. Was Kel Gundy a co-OC? I thought he was.
I think he might have been.
He was, but I don't see there with where we're at right now with this coaching staff. I don't see there's any way that Jeff Lebby's position is changed to a co-OC. I think he's going to stay OC and quarterbacks coach. I think it would just have to be wide receiver coach or maybe like passing game coordinator or something like that with Malcolm Kelly. I can't see him getting the OC job. But the good thing for OU on this is when you look at Venables' contract, Venables is honestly a low-paid head coach. Yeah. Compared to other head coaches, he's not making as much money. So this frees up because, look, Levy's one of the top coordinators in the country, top-paid coordinators in the country. So this frees up your assistant's salary. You have a lot more money to throw at guys. And I think if it comes down to OU and Texas with Malcolm Kelly, the good thing with Malcolm Kelly is we have a much better position to land on because really you're looking at he bleeds crimson. There's no other way to put it. You look at the freestyle against Nebraska, all that stuff. He is a OU guy through and through. So it would be pretty hard for him to go to Texas. And I think I would be shocked if there's truth to this, Kelly might be still in the play. I would really see it being Kelly to OU and Emmett Jones to Texas because Emmett Jones, for them, they honestly struggle in the DFW compared to us. Mm-hmm. We already recruit really well in the DFW. So a guy like Emmett Jones, yeah, that would be great. That's even more recruiting in the area. But Texas they lose a lot of guys to out-of-state programs. So if they could bring in a wide receiver coach that has a DFW stronghold, that might be where they're leaning, honestly.
Yeah, I could see it being a situation as far as like name-wise. I could see it being a situation like the Ted Roof and Todd Bates, where Ted Roof is a defensive coordinator, but Todd Bates has that co-defensive coordinator tag. I could see something like that.
Yeah, Hunter brought up the money situation. Sorry, Jay. Hunter brought up the money situation. It's a great point. Also, if you think about it, Kel Gundy, we really didn't replace him, right? I mean, LaDamian Washington's there, moved from analyst to that. But what I'm saying is we do have some money on the table that we can throw out into Malcolm Kelly. And I agree with Hunter. He would be a passing game coordinator, not co-OC, which still would be a passing game coordinator and a wide receiver coach at your alma mater. And I know I was the one that mentioned on the pod yesterday about Longview being closer to TCU in the Fort Worth area. But more I thought about it, man, he spent 4 years in Norman, Oklahoma. This is pretty much, I think, his second home. So I don't think that maybe is going to come into play as far as home environment.
Yeah, Jeremy, you brought both of y'all brought up money. Let me just read you something here. But first, I don't know if we've covered the fact that LaDainian Washington. I mean, we're almost 100% chance he's definitely out.
It's not.
You said Western Kentucky.
It's not a coincidence. I don't think he'll be at Oklahoma just based on
which Hunter, you were talking earlier about the timing with Malcolm Kelly and stuff, and the timing also for OU. OU was not going to go hire somebody in that recruiting cycle getting ready to end. They were going to just go with LaDainian Washington until that cycle was over, and now make that hire. But let me read you the salaries. Malcolm Kelly, he makes double Emmett Jones. Malcolm Kelly's about $840,000 a year on average. Emmett Jones about $450,000. So you're going to have to pay a lot more to get Kelly for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and Texas has money as well, but I'm just saying with OU, you look at the head coaching position, Venables, he took a pretty big pay cut, in my opinion. When I saw that contract, I expected him to get a lot more money, and it sounded like the reasoning behind that is he wanted to put together one of the best staffs in the country, and to do that, that requires a whole lot of money. So he was willing to take that pay cut to make that happen. I think with Malcolm Kelly, did anyone see Quentin Johnston being a first rounder before this year? I don't think anyone did. And he's going to be.
No, I mean, it's fair. You could see him being a third or fourth round guy, but not a first round guy.
No, that's what I'm getting at is he's had Malcolm Kelly, and now he's probably going to be a first rounder. I think that's a lot to show how good of a coach Malcolm Kelly is, and he's young, really in the coaching world hasn't been a coach that long. So to land at a program like OU would be huge. It just really depends on how. I think it's the money issue. That's just me. I could be completely wrong.
Well, I know we were in the smoke room here talking about things we've heard, but I don't want to disrespect LaDainian Washington in any way. Nothing officially has been announced, okay? But it is weird. There is no way that the staff at Oklahoma doesn't know that this is being talked about. So if LaDainian Washington was the guy, Jackson, don't you think that there would have been some announcement? I appreciate what LaDainian Washington did this year, stepping in and coaching after a tough situation with Gundy. I think we need to give him some credit where credit is due, but it does not seem that he's going to be here. But I just didn't want to do any disservice, but it's just not anything. The pieces we put together, it doesn't seem like LaDainian Washington is a piece in this puzzle.
And to go along with that, OU had 2 wide receivers in this weekend and many more in throughout the week. But it's a situation where if you're a transfer portal guy, you kind of want to know who your wide receiver coach is going to be. So if LaDainian Washington, kind of as you said, was going to be your wide receiver coach, they would have already named him as the wide receiver coach so that those transfer portal guys know, okay, this is my wide receiver coach.
Well, that's why I think the whole Malcolm Kelly thing is a big deal, and it is a possibility, because otherwise, if they wanted Jones, why haven't they offered? What are they waiting on? And that's why I think the Monday night deal, the timeline, I think by midweek next week we'll know.
Yeah, I agree.
So you guys just mentioned on transfer portal guys wanting to know who their wide receiver coach is. Do you think if there's any chance that if Malcolm Kelly, say, is not at TCU, a guy like JoJo Earl does not officially enroll at TCU and follows Kelly wherever Kelly goes? I think that's a good possibility.
There's got to be a chance. But he's from the DFW, JoJo Earl, so that's kind of where.
But Hunter, that brings up a great point.
How
How long do these guys have to go to? Is it? I can't remember the rule on these transfer guys.
You have till school starts. That's what Gabriel did last year.
The day is like
16th.
16th for transfer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we still have another week. So yeah,
Actually, it's the 17th because that's MLK Day, the 16th. So it's the day after. Yeah, that's when the semester starts.
You saw Miles Slusher, what he did.
Yeah.
I mean,
Last year, Dylan Gabriel was committed to UCLA, and then he's at OU. So it is it's not necessarily set in stone for these transfer portal guys because I don't think anything's completely official until they step foot on campus.
I think we'll know by Wednesday who the wide receiver coach is at OU.
I'd agree.
All right, before we kind of close it up, let's just go around here to close up the smoke room and say, who will the next wide receiver coach be at OU?
I'll start it with my prediction. I would go Malcolm Kelly.
I'll go with the same thing.
I got Malcolm Kelly.
I can't wait to see Malcolm Kelly rapping at the press conference. That's going to be just unbelievable. But I'm going to go Malcolm Kelly. Thanks, LaDamian Washington. We appreciate you, but Malcolm Kelly's the guy.
Hunter?
OU boys, they my brothers, they my friends. Malcolm Kelly to Norman. It's going to happen now.
I'm going to be the loner here, and I'm going to say Emmett Jones.
Yeah.
I'm just going to – I don't know if they can – unless they bring him in as a co-OC, I don't think they're getting Malcolm Kelly. So I'm going to stay with Emmett Jones. Yeah. Unless they are to put that tag on Malcolm Kelly, then my pick is Emmett Jones. So that's kind of what I think. So, yeah. Man, Hunter, do you know the whole rap? Because let's close it out with that rap.
No, I would have to pull up the lyrics real quick.
Jackson, do you know the whole rap?
I know over half.
Let's hear it. Close it up.
No.
Oh, come on, guys.
Hey, you know what we need? Hey, we need to get Emmett Jones and Malcolm Kelly to a neutral location with two hats on the table.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
That's what it's coming down to. Like OU,
if that's really what it's looking like, we should do it. That's what they should do.
Yeah,
meet them halfway. DFW, they're both DFW guys.
That's right.
At the Cotton Bowl.
All right, do you guys want me to do the rap?
Close it up. Smoke room. Close out with the rap. Here we go.
All right, ready? Boys is getting quiet. Gone and get crunk. Head back to Longview. Kelly popping trunk. I ain't even tripping. Riding and I'm sipping. Let me come through faux steady tipping. On that new lack. Watch the trunk crank. Let me sit sideways. CB run it back. Baby AP. Baby AD. I ain't even tripping because we some athletes. Messing with Schmitty in the summertime. He get pissed if we don't make our time. That's all I'm going to do.
Hey, that's the other thing is Schmitty. He's got a great relationship with Schmitty.
I've heard otherwise.
Really?
Yeah, that could be wrong. I heard that as soon as Schmitty came here when I was saying last year that we should get, this was still when Cale Gundy was on staff, all that last year when Schmitty was announced that with the reasoning behind Malcolm Kelly not being a coach at OU was something to do with Schmitty over the 40 time at his pro day. Apparently there's a grudge there. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't know if money can resolve that issue, but I have heard that there was a very big grudge with Malcolm Kelly to Jerry Schmidt.
Yeah. So good job on that rap, Jackson. So we're going to close it up. Once again, follow the Sooner Surge on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for listening to the first ever Smoke Room. Where there's smoke, there's fire. See you next time.
Peace.
Boomer.
Boomer.